Hi Lucy, come on.
I've got a... Can you move the seats along? I'm standing with three of you.
Should be over here, Johnny, with your paperwork.
Just need you to... You take the swing seats? Oh, right, this is an appearance.
Welcome to the meeting. Please enter the passcode followed by the hash key. You are entering the meeting now. You are the only participant.
Do you want me to find it for you? It is 0211 534
534
299.
I've got back your names there.
Mr. Kate?
Oh, thank you.
Hi, Mark King.
So, Mr. King, what's your first name?
Mark. And my wife is actually Leah. Last name's different.
Leah, L-E-A-H.
L-E-A-H, yeah. I remember you from last time when we had those audio
Probably.
problems. That's right, we had to hook
Probably.
up the little speaker so you could hear
Yes.
everything. That's right.
John Patrick. Thank you, Mr. Murphy.
You're welcome.
Alright, so... How do I say your name? Malhotra?
Yes.
Okay. And
First
guitar?
name is Gaurav.
Gaurav. Gaurav.
Gaurav.
Gaurav. And Neti? And Sarika? Yes. Thank you. Phones or stand. Thank you, please be seated. Motor vehicle with dispute tribunal is now sitting in the matter of Malhotra and Malhotra versus Central Card Company. Mr. Gregory, you Sean B. Gregory solemnly, sincerely and truly declare and affirm that you will faithfully and impartially perform the duties of an assessor in this matter.
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Getting to our interpreter. One minute. Miss Shalini Khanna, can you hear me? Miss Shalini Khanna, can you hear me? I think I've lost her. She was there, wasn't she? Did you hear her previously when we did the test?
Hello? Yes, ma'am, I can hear you.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm going to take you through the interpreter's oath.
Yes, certainly.
Thank you. Can you state your full name, please?
Shalini Khanna.
Thank you. Do you solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm that you will truly and faithfully interpret from the English language to the Hindi language, and from the Hindi to the English language, the oath to be administered, the evidence to be given, and all matters pertaining to the hearing of this case, according to the best of your skills and abilities?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I need to go through the affirmations for each of the parties.
Yes.
So, Neti Malhotra. Is that your full name?
Yes.
Thank you. Do you solemnly, sincerely, and truly declare and affirm that the evidence you're about to give to this tribunal shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Are you happy with that, Mr. McHerron? Or do you want it translated back?
No, that's fine, thanks.
Thank you. Gaurav Malhotra, can you just tell us your full name, please?
Gaurav Malhotra.
Thank you. Do you solemnly, sincerely and truly declare and affirm that the evidence you're about to give to this tribunal shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. I understand.
Sorry, Lucy, the microphones for the purchasers are going to have to be closer because I couldn't hear them at all.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you just want to state your full name again, Mr. Malhotra?
Gaurav Malhotra.
I saw Mr. Regreshe nod his head. Turning to the trader, Central Car Company Limited, can you please state your full name, the company you are representing, and state your role in that company?
John Patrick Murphy, Central Car Company Limited, CEO.
Thank you. Do you solemnly, sincerely and truly declare and affirm that the evidence you're about to give to this tribunal shall be the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do, yes.
Thank you. And the gentleman beside you, will he be giving evidence today, Mr. Murphy?
Yes, he will.
Thank you. Can you state your full name, please?
Yes, my name is Mark Donald Eric King.
Donald Eric. Do you solemnly, sincerely and truly declare and affirm that the evidence you are about to give to this tribunal shall be the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. McHerron.
Thanks, Lucienne. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jason McHerron. I'm the adjudicator, and I'm sitting with Sean Gregory, who's the tribunal's assessor. I just want to make it clear at the outset that my colleague, adjudicator Watson, made a direction in this matter on 23 September that the parties are not permitted to video or record the hearing in any way. And I just want to confirm that that direction is in place and make sure that parties understand that and agree to abide by it, please. Can I have your confirmation that you will agree to abide by that order? Yes. And yours for the trader too, please, Mr. Murphy?
John, do you agree?
No, I don't, Mr. Chair, so I don't agree to that.
Well, I'm going to have to, if the consequence of you not agreeing to abide by that order will be that I will have to make an order excluding you from the hearing, because I'm not permitted to continue with the hearing if you're not going to abide by that order that has been made.
It's my right to record, Mr. Chair, on the grounds that it's my court case, and I'm allowed to take under section which we have with us today. We are allowed in the district court to record if it's related to issues that are pertaining to me. With respect, if I was to turn up in a court hearing on matters that weren't relating to my business or myself, it is then unlawful for me to film or record it by recording devices. I also argue the point that the court has in here today cameras and recording devices, and I can't see why it should be good for the government or the Justice Department and not for I, bearing in mind that I'm a diabetic and it's very, very hard for me to write and take notations. All my businesses, all my staff are recording full-time nowadays.
All right, well, I've had regard to your submissions, but I'm not going to undo that order, which was made by my colleague and was communicated to you. I wasn't aware that you were intending to record the meeting and the hearing rather, and so...
May we apply for adjournment so I could put an application to the High Court today to have the hearing video recorded, please?
No, I'm not going to permit that.
Right.
I'm going to give you an opportunity to abide by that order, and I encourage you to do that, to not record the hearing in any way. If you agree to abide by that, and I encourage you to do so, then you are welcome to stay and the hearing will continue. Otherwise, I intend to make an order excluding you from the hearing. I will allow your colleague to stay if he agrees to abide by the order, but I will have to exclude you if you don't agree to abide by my order not to record the hearing in any way.
For what reason?
Well, the primary reason is that as the judicial officer that's presiding over this hearing, I have control over what happens in the hearing, and that includes whether or not parties are rightly permitted to record. And I've made a decision that they are not, and my colleague did as well. If you want full reasoning for that decision, then I will put that in the decision, substantive decision in this matter, which you will have appeal rights for, and you'll be able to take that on appeal and have my reasoning tested.
We won't record.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, that's helpful. All right, well, let's continue. This hearing is about your Mazda, Mr. and Ms. Malhotra, and what I want to, we haven't had any translation of that so far, and what I want to check with you is whether we need to translate all of the hearing for you, or whether you just want the ability to call on the interpreter. All right, that will be helpful and it will allow us to get through, because we do unfortunately have limited time today.
Yes, please.
I'm not sure if you're aware, but there is industrial action at the moment in the Ministry of Justice, and for that reason we need to finish at 12:30. I will make a decision at the end of that time whether we need to adjourn and have a continuation of the hearing, but I'd like to try and get through as much as we can and hopefully try and finish it. So we'll work on the basis that you have half an hour essentially to take us through your claim, and Mr. Gregor and I may ask a few questions on the way through. But let's get started. What's been the problem with the vehicle and what do you want the tribunal to do? You take us through that as much as you want to.
Shall I speak in Hindi or in English? Or in Shalini listening, or?
If you're comfortable speaking in English, that will make things
That is
quicker.
fine.
But if you need to speak in
That's
Hindi,
fine, I will speak in English.
Yes.
Okay, basically, since we bought this vehicle, we are experiencing so many issues with the vehicle. After a couple of days after we bought the vehicle, we basically took the vehicle to Central Car Company, and John Patrick Murphy acknowledges us, and he took us for a 5-minute drive. And the attitude of his was very rude when he was talking with us. And he also says, do not expect too much with 2,800 cars, do not expect luxury. Our question was at that time that there is a chip on the windscreen, there was few other things which was not told to us when we bought the vehicle. But anyhow, me and my wife say, okay, that is fine. Our purpose is just to go from one place to one place because she wants to drive, dropping my daughter to daycare. And that is the only purpose of buying the cars. As long everything is working, we are happy. So we left and we came back home. Just after 1 month, the car stopped. She was coming from work at 5 o'clock. The car stopped and it doesn't start at all. So we have to call roadside rescue. We have a state insurance and we called roadside rescue. They came. They somehow jump start the car. After a few days, the same thing happens again. The car stopped. This time also we called roadside rescue. They came and they told us you need to go to a technician or mechanic to diagnose the car because there might be some more issues, you know. Then
In between, I just want to inform you, when we called second time for roadside rescue, we saw a lot of lights on dashboard, which is engine light or more lights it was showing there. That's why we called to roadside rescue that time, because we feel very scary with these lights. Why is this light flashing on the dashboard? And second time roadside rescue came at our property. That was, I think, Saturday. He came at our property. We checked our car. That roadside rescue is also mechanic. Then he advised us to go to any mechanic who diagnose the car. You can start.
Any mechanic who can diagnose the car, so then we just took the order.
Can you just stop there for a second, and I'll just ask you a question. You said that the car stopped. Do you mean that it wouldn't start, or did it actually stop whilst you were driving?
So in first couple of times the car just stopped. So one day she came from work home, and I told her, let's go and get some petrol for next week in the car. She just came back from home, and we just turned the keys and the car doesn't turn at all. And I tried 10 times and the car doesn't start. I said, how come this is possible? The car just came from work, and how come the car is not turning on?
Yeah, so you were turning the key.
Yeah.
Was it trying to start, or did nothing happen?
That's what it is doing. And we were
so was the engine turning over, or was nothing happening?
Nothing is happening. All the lights comes up and then it stops.
Steering was locked.
Steering is locked. We can't move the steering, and we were and then we have to call the roadside rescue again. So the roadside.
That is third time.
That is third time. So roadside rescue advises us that you need to bring this car to a mechanic for a scan diagnosis, and also he says check the coolant sometime. I mean, that was his assumption. So we bought the coolant next day and we put the coolant in, but problems still there.
So stop there again. Was the coolant low in the car? Did it have a water leak?
We basically follow the instruction what roadside rescue told us, to be honestly speaking. Coolant was there in the car, but we thought it is low, so we just filled it up little bit more.
Alright. So where did you fill it up? Did you fill it in the radiator, or did you put it in a little plastic tank?
No, where the green stuff is, coolant.
That mechanic show us where we need to put it. That there is a one white things. He showed us we have to put it here.
In the expansion tank.
So we went to a mechanic in Manukau in pit shop, and he's a MT assured mechanic. He checked everything, and he then gave us the diagnosis report and says that there are issues in this car. There are computerized system which is not talking to each other, and basically we asked him how much it will cost us. He says that, see, the thing is that more he will dig the car, more he will work on this car, it will go maximum to $6,000 to $7,000 expense. Then we asked him, we do not have that much money, because we do not have money to buy this car even. We bought the money from our friend, they paid for the car, we haven't paid them yet. And we said we do not have money to expense, and if we do have money, then we might have bought a better vehicle, instead of buying this. Then he advised us that in that case, well, you can only, the problem will be there, and it is going to be there. You drive, it is up to you how long, it will last long for you, but eventually you have to fix these issues, otherwise this car will not work.
Did he give you a better description of what was wrong with the vehicle? So what did he actually say?
Well, there are
shall I show the papers? Okay. Is there? That is the report.
That is the description, and
that is the code.
That is the code in the report which he gave.
Is it in the evidence?
Has this been supplied to the tribunal already?
Yes, we already submit. It's page number 4 or page number 4A.
What is the date on it? Is there a date on it?
Page number 4A. It's date of 18th of June.
It's 4A.
Okay.
Vital diagnostic report.
Oh, they put it in.
It is 4A, and you gave me 16.
Oh, sorry. What?
That one.
Yeah, that's the one. 4A. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the page number 16. If you refer to page number 16, it's the code's detail. Like this code mentioned on the vehicle diagnosis report. The meaning of these codes in detail in page number 16. I didn't submit that one. I bought four copies of these ones because it's there.
Oh,
that's additional proofs.
Additional, and you've got 4 copies.
Yeah. So is the index here. So page number 16, codes in details, like problems in details.
So okay, I need one for.
Yeah, it's 4 copies.
Thank you. What I'll do, I'll put the pen
No.
Okay.
on the top of the index. So here is the page number and here is the descriptions.
Okay, just give me a second.
Is that the quote for the alternator? My page 16.
I haven't seen this at all.
So
Jumpstart vehicle check charging rate, alternator single phasing and winding. Is that?
So page number 4A, that's a vital diagnosis report. If you want to check in the details, please refer page number 16 for 16 for these code definitions.
Yes.
So here is a clear description of each code. What is the problem in the car?
Okay.
Have you seen this before? Have you seen this?
And continue with the page number 17 as well. 16, 17.
Yes.
Just looked up all the codes.
Please continue.
And then after that, one day my wife was going to work, and then the car stopped in the middle of road. And she called me at work. I was at work at that time, and she was crying. She was saying that my car was stopped. I was driving, and all of a sudden it stopped in the middle of the road. And that was the time then we thought that this car is definitely not safe to drive, because this is not the way we expected this car to be. So then she called her workplace, which is Alpha Tech New Zealand Limited in Ellerslie. She called her workplace, and they sent her colleague to push the car to just bring it to the workplace. And then the guy who came to jumpstart and push the car, and then again the car stopped when it reaches to the office. In that case, she called the mechanic. There was a nearby mechanic there, and she just told the mechanic this is what happened. So the mechanic told, I will take the car with me, and I will put the battery on charge whole night, and I will see whether it's a battery or it's alternator. And next day, the following day, he says that the battery is okay, but it is alternator which is not working in this car. It is faulty, and to replace that, it will cost you $1,000. More than $1,000 with GST, And then she told me, and then I was like, why we have to pay so much on this car? We just paid 2,800 because that was our budget, and that was also we have taken loan from our friends. And somebody is telling us these reports, somebody is telling us alternator. We don't know how many things are faulty in this car. Then I called Mr. Murphy, and what happened? I was trying to ask options from him. He did not listen, and he disconnected my phone call straight away.
When did this happen?
This happened on 6th of September night. You can refer page number, I can show you. Page number 7, 7A, 7B and 7C.
Mr. Gregory, I've just emailed that bundle to you.
Thank you.
So I've seen these texts, they're in the application that you've provided, but
I can show you the dates as well, so.
You're saying there's a reference in one of your texts to disconnecting the core.
Yes.
So this was around September.
Yes.
You're saying
There's no date.
These texts were in September, were they?
Yes.
There's no date on them.
No,
there isn't.
I will put in the phone because the print out, it doesn't come with the date.
But we can try and phone.
But date is on there.
Well, can you just read it and show the trader as well? Can you just read it?
Yes. 6th on the top.
It's Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Tuesday, 6th September at 19 or 16:33.
Okay, great.
Can you see that?
At 19 what?
Is it 16 or?
1916, 16.
And then after that, I called again and he did not pick my phone. Then I was a bit upset with him and I just wrote a message that your Thomas is going to be with you. Whatever you have done, it will come back to you. And then he just started arguing and a heated argument. He just told me that you are a bad person and bad thing happened to bad people and you are a bad person.
Yes, I've read those things.
Yeah, and then at the end, he started threatening me that he's going to police. He kept on threatening us that he's going to police, he's going to police. And me and my wife, at that time didn't know that there is a department which is called MVDT. So next morning at 7 o'clock when I was getting ready to work, he again texted me, I'm now going to police station.
Yeah, no, I've read the
And
text.
he
You
said-
don't need to go over those
And he
texts.
said he's going to my boss as well.
Yeah.
Because he know my workplace and he was telling I'm going to your wife's boss as well. So if you want the witness from my office, what happened on 6th of September morning, you can refer the page number 19. I was stuck in the middle of the road of the Great Side Road. And behind is a big truck. And he stopped the truck. And he helped me.
Just take a moment, Ms. Malhotra, to compose yourself. Don't try and...
I feel that I was there.
Just take a moment, just pause, please.
Imagine if we have a daughter in our car, if car stops, we have got a daughter after 7 or 8 years. If something happens to us or our family, who is responsible? Are these people responsible?
Yes. Unfortunately, I don't have jurisdiction over threats and anything that sort of might be in that side of things. For that sort of matter, you would have to go to the police if you had a concern about a crime being committed, for example. The purpose of this tribunal is to consider the issues that you've raised about your car, and so that's what we really need to focus on here. I appreciate that some difficult stuff has gone on that you're not happy about, and I'm not meaning to downplay that, but we really do need to focus on the car.
I understand.
Yeah.
Then I will continue, and then I work for Department of Internal Affairs. So somebody at my workplace told me, why don't you go to MVDT? But before you go to MVDT, call Ministry of Social Justice and also go to CAM, Citizen Advice Bureau. I followed that direction. I called Ministry of Justice. They told that yes, you definitely need to lodge a claim. But if you're lodging a claim, do not repair this car, do not do anything. So okay, that's fine. Then again, because we are not driving that car anyway, because from that point onwards, we just not driving. It's just parked in our garage.
When did you stop driving?
On 6th.
On that
6th of September. That
6th
was
of
the last date.
Yes.
And we haven't driven that car since. Then I went to cab. Cab told me you need to give 3 days time to the trader that you're lodging a claim to MVDT. I texted him, and again on that message you can see he says sorry, we cannot help. I told him that okay, that is fine. I gave you 3 days time. It is up to you, because after 3 days I'm going to lodge this claim. And then we have lodged the claim. After lodging the claim, after a couple of weeks, we have received an email from Maja, the case manager, and she advises that she is giving us 14 days period to settle this issue.
Yes.
In that 14 days period, after a couple of days, 2 or 3 days, a random person, without informing us, without taking our appointment, came to our property telling us that he is passing by to Hovik and he thought he will come because he is a friend of, and that was a weekday. Main thing is that was a weekday. He came to our property with his wife. Main thing is that on a weekday we both are working, but unfortunately on that day my daughter was sick and my wife was at home. and she knock on the he knock on the door, and then he says that he is somebody coming in reference to John Murphy. Our first question is that why he came without informing me. My wife also asked him why you came informed. And then the other thing is that they illegally make these videos and audios of us without taking any written consent from my wife that we are shooting you. They hidden cameras, they are taking videos and audio, and they just, and in that video there is nothing wrong. My wife told absolutely what we have mentioned to MVDT already. Their purpose is just to show MVDT that we have turned the car and the car starts. We never claim that car never starts. Car start, but car has problems. We always claim that cars just stop on the road all of a sudden and these lights are flashing. This is our claim. We never said that car never, and the car was started on that day because on the previous date the mechanic charged the battery whole previous day or
few weeks, like 1 week ago. 1 week ago.
He charged the battery whole night. That's why the car just started in one go. And then he left, and then there is another guy came because it is legal agent Josh Andrew. Now this Josh Andrew is sending us emails which are either public holidays, Saturdays, Fridays, late night at 11 o'clock just to make us upset. And he's a lawyer, he's writing all this things.
As I say, Mr. Malhotra, let's just focus on the car.
Okay.
I have read your concerns about Mr. Andrews' emails, and
sure.
I will think about those, but I really want to keep the focus on the car.
So then,
we could spend all day talking about people's behaviour, but let's just talk about the car. I think that would be very helpful.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Last thing I want to just say that we have been given a direction to go to MTA assured mechanic to get the code, and we have provided that to the MVDT.
Well, Mr. Murphy is concerned that it's not an MTA.
It is. I will show you.
I will show you. You can refer the page number 12A, please.
12A?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
You can get the proof. Proof is there.
So you're saying that is a...
Definitely.
Yes. You can. It's a
So which pit stop was it?
Manipur pit
There is
shop.
another proof if you want to show them, please.
There's one proof in our phone as
here.
well.
Okay, well I can see 12A, and
Yeah.
I mean if Mr. Murphy wants to take issue with that, then he can. It's his turn. But I see what you're saying there. At least you thought it was an MTA assured member, and I don't know whether it is or not, other than seeing this. I haven't investigated the issue myself, sorry, yet, but we will look into that for you. So that pit stop was the one that did the diagnosis.
Yes, that is correct, yes.
That we've and Mr. Murphy does point out that they didn't look at the vehicle again after I made that.
Because the mechanic told us because that car was unsafe. It is not working now at all.
So it was based on the original.
Yeah, so they say that if you have not done any repair work in the car, the problems are still there, and this is the quotation for that issues which was there before we came with the car.
Yeah.
They continue to drive.
And that pit stop scan, let's just have a look at that now. Have you got that in your bundle?
Page number 4 and 16.
Yeah.
4, 4A and 16.
Okay. So 4 is the original one, and then 6 is the more recent one.
Yeah, 16 and 17, like description of code.
Oh, the code, yeah. Well, let's just look at 6. So that says that it is necessary to replace the ABS control module to bring the car back to WAF standards. Advised not to drive car until fixed, as ABS braking system is not working. And then it's got some price estimates. Mr. Gregory may have some questions about this, but I'm quite interested in the ABS warning light. And do you know? Are you both clear what that light looks like?
It's measured ABS.
Okay.
Clearly on the dashboard. Yeah.
Okay. And have you both seen that light illuminate?
Yes.
And so, can you tell us when it came on for the first time?
When actually ABS light we are not sure, but the engine light was showing next 2 to 3 days. We've been to John Murphy next 2 or 3 days, and we show him, but he just come with us for 5 to 10 minutes ride, and he said, don't everything is okay, don't expect too much, taking $2,800 car.
You're talking about the engine light now.
Yeah, engine light, I'm talking about it. ABS light, it was, actually I'm not sure the date. I'm not sure about the date. Really.
What about you?
Well, normally she drives that car to work and she come back.
But definitely it was before going to diagnosis report. It should be, it was showing in, I can give you approximately idea is a May or June, because we called to stateside rescue, and they also see the few lights on our dashboard. If you want to check page number 13, that's one more report from stateside rescue, and if you check the result, there is saying diagnosis electric warning lights on. I highlighted it.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the date of that?
It's 7. Oh, sorry, that's a printed. It's 11 June.
Yeah, but it doesn't say which warning lights, though, does it?
Yeah, because he didn't mention here which, but he just mentioned the warning lights on.
So, I mean, if it says ABS, I would have thought that would be fairly easy to notice. Can you not remember?
No, sorry, we don't remember the date exactly.
But do you think it was sometime around the time when you had state insurance roadside rescue?
Yes.
Would it have been after they had jump-started the vehicle that it first came on, or before? Do you know?
It was not staying permanently there. It was gone on off, like on off. So, but definitely it was there. That's why we call the state rescue, and we asked them to send us some mechanic. That's why on 11th of June, some mechanic came from state rescue company, and they checked the vehicle, and they see the some warning lights. It's not only ABS that time, engine light also. Really, we don't know the name of the light as well that time. He advises his few lights are showing on here. Then he said that yes, if something is wrong in your vehicle, you can do one thing at this moment. You just fill the cost at this stage, and diagnose the these lights few days. If it's not settled, go to the any car mechanic to diagnose the vehicle. If you check on the top, he's provide note. Customer advised to take a MV to workshop to further investigation. It's mentioned on the report as well. So he's then we next week, following week on 18, because we can go only Saturday, Sunday, because we are working on Monday to Friday. I think 18th of Saturday, 18th of June, we've been to one corporate shop, and he diagnosed our full car, and diagnosis report are here.
All right, I'll just check whether Mr. Gregory has any questions sort of following up on those engine light type issues or anything else.
Yeah.
Sure. When the ABS light was on and you noticed it, was it the only light that was on, or were there others on at the same time?
Others on at the same time.
All right. When you jump-started the vehicle, or have you jump-started the vehicle yourself, or have you always relied? All right, you always relied on professional services to do that?
Yeah, state company, state roadside rescue did it.
All right, the first time you ever saw a light come on the dash was about, you were saying about a month after you owned the vehicle, or that minutes?
No, I saw first time engine light after 2 and 3 days. I was being to John Murphy as well. No. On 2nd and 3rd days. Because that time.
Can you just put a little bit more detail around that? So you're saying 2 or 3 days, you saw a light come on.
Yeah.
You contacted the trader.
Yeah. That time I heard one noise in my car, and we feel air conditioning was not working properly and the engine light was blinking on the dashboard. And next 2 days, I'm not sure about the date, next 2 or 3 days, we've been exactly sharp before 9 o'clock because his shop was open 9 o'clock, and sharp before 9 o'clock, we reached there and we was waiting outside the shop for John Murphy. He came from the back side, not from the front side, he came from the back side. We met him and we told him we got this problem in our car, can you please help us? And he said, okay, we will go for drive. And after my baby was also with me, we all sit in the car, go for 5-10 minutes walk, and he said, car is working properly, it's good. Don't expect too much things in $2,800 worth car. It's not a luxury car, don't think, don't expect too much things.
Right. I've heard that. So again, so you leave the trader, and then how long again until the light comes back on? So you continue to use the car.
It was not staying. I said it's on and off. Yeah. So sometimes it's showing and
only the check engine light was on at that stage, coming on and off.
Yeah, that time I was in engine light that time. Yeah.
All right. The car's continuing to operate okay. It's not stalling or at that stage. It's just running okay. The light's just coming on.
Light is coming on and off, and car is like I'm driving only per day is 10 kilometer or 11 kilometer. So that's it. I'm not driving too much. So that is time it was showing on off. So I thought to when I on again it was showing on off, but after some time a lot of lights is coming on. I'm not sure really about the name of the light, but when I been to mechanic, he shows is a handbrake light. Handbrake light is a one sign and dot and the wrong. That he shows this the light is a handbrake light, and I noticed the speedometer is also not working. When ABS light is on, the speedometer of car, speedometer and one more meter is there, 2 meters in the car, both are not working. And sometimes when ABS light is gone, the speedometer is start. That is another thing. And third thing is the handbrake light, speedometer, engine light is there, ABS light is there. These all lights are showing on the dashboard. That's why we call the state rescue team to please check, because we feel unsafe to drive this car. We need this opinion from the rescue team, because we don't want to go and mechanic that time. We called them, they said, yeah, definitely something is wrong in this car. Just fill the coolant first, and if it's gone, that's fine. Otherwise, go for, best option is go diagnose the car. And when we diagnose the car,
I think I understand that sequence now. That's good. And then you continue to use the car until September, where of course it finally breaks down. Can you remember at that stage, how many kilometres have you driven in the car? You bought it at 150. How many kilometres are now on the odometer?
We bought the car in, I think I give you the speedometer rate is 150,278.
Yes, that's when you bought it.
Yeah, and we.
How many kilometres have you driven in the car?
Yes, it's 152,405, but I give you exact, yeah. Is here everything? Yeah, 152,405. It's 2,001 kilometer in 6 months, you can say.
That odometer reading you gave to Mr. Murphy, I think, in one of your texts.
Yes. You can refer the page number.
I think it was on
page number 8. You can refer the page number 8.
Yeah.
Please.
Is that? Are we still on the 6th of September?
Yes,
or 7th would be the 7th of September.
Yes, 7th of September. Yeah.
And you've said, so that odometer reading was based on what? Did you go and check it when you sent that text, or?
I checked it, yes, I checked
Yeah,
it.
we checked
He
it.
texted me, so I checked it, and then I wrote it, and I just sent it to him.
Yeah, and you say that you have not driven the vehicle since when?
Since that day.
Since that day.
What day was that?
That's your evidence on oath. that you have not driven the vehicle at all and no one else has driven it. So, and at the moment you can't.
I'm using public transport.
You can't see what the odometer reading is.
No, because it's not starting. Because it's parked from last more than 2 months, so it's not starting at this stage.
Okay. Well, we're coming up to the end of the first half an hour block, and I'd like to give Central Cars the opportunity to respond at this point. But is there anything else that you wanted to cover in relation to the vehicle before we do?
Not really. We don't need to cover anything. We just we're expecting some justice from MVDT.
All right. Mr. Gregory may have some more questions. No.
No, thank you.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much. If you could just listen now to Mr. Murphy and Mr. Keane to give their response to your claim.
Mr. McHerron, it looks like this is going to go over our half-hour block. So what I'd like to do is, can I introduce Mr. Keane's evidence now? Because it's very essential to this. And we have the video here, which will clearly show that that these clients are unfair with their saying that we threaten them and so forth. It's all here, and it's very, very important to the fact that we went there and started the car straight away. There were no lights on the dashboard. The car started immediately. Everything that this tribunal's asked them to do, they just simply haven't done. We believe that if there is a problem with the ABS unit or the alternator, it could have possibly been caused by jump-starting the car incorrectly, but we don't know. We've not been allowed to assess the vehicle. They've purposely kept the vehicle away from us, surrounded it with threats and allegations that are completely untrue and libelous. Threats now that they're posting on Facebook. We would also like to have the opportunity of just seeing the vehicle, being able to have it checked by a qualified auto electrician, PK Auto Electrical, who I've used for 40 years. I'd also like to have things clarified, like the engine lights coming on. When they first brought the car back in that so-called 2 or 3 day period, they then were claiming about a mark in the windscreen, the air conditioning not working. There were no engine lights coming on in the vehicle. The evidence has been introduced as a pure fabrication, and hence, as you say, we are under industrial action. I've got a business which is absolutely struggling with COVID, and it's actually had to close because I'm in here today. And I employ 5 staff and etc, etc. And this is a point which the auto industry is watching very closely, this particular issue over this car. We've sold a vehicle that was actually quite a good little Mazda Demio when they purchased it, you know. Certainly if these folk hadn't have bought it, there would have been a few people in that day that would have purchased it. When we sold them the vehicle, we had a discussion in my office with the salesman concerned, because we felt that the way that they were talking and treating us, etc., was something that, you know, we just don't need. We don't need to be spoken to in that way. We're not servants. We're there to give them a service. And in this case, we sold them a relatively well-priced car. I've spoken to the previous owners. They're prepared to come in and back me on what servicing they did in the car, etc. Now all of a sudden they ring me out of the blue and start threatening me with death some 2,200 k's afterwards, and some five months later. Well, I'm sorry, alternators, as Mr. Gregory will tell you, they just don't wear out. They're either going or they're not. They're either going or they're not. Back to my point. Can we just be allowed to show this audio evidence, which is fairly important?
Well,
one, to the fact that I will go to appeal and judicial review, and the other one is that it's clear cut and it's clean and it's been lawfully obtained.
Yeah,
I know you don't want me to win.
I'm just not sure about it. I mean, I'm not sure if we have the technology.
We've got it here.
Yeah. B, how long is it?
And the whole thing from start to finish goes for about 17 minutes, which would take you out of the time. I can give you a testimony of what happened.
I've got it.
Yeah.
I can look at it.
Yeah.
But
if he's here, Mr. Chair, he can explain and walk through. They've said that we've turned up there and pressured them. Like, I use a legal guy who's highly qualified, and well, he does work for me after hours, so it doesn't cost me $400 an hour. Of course, he's going to send emails that said an hour. They don't have to answer them that night. He's an absolute gentleman.
Meaning Mr. Andrews.
He's got the highest qualifications you get in law, but all we want to do is to make sure that we've covered our aces on what we consider to be an objectionable approach to buying a used vehicle. And in my case, the people that traded this car in, they did the same thing to me. They went along because they found out it was a CVT transmission. They went along and had a report that said it might have this the matter with it, and might have that the matter about it. So what did I do? Is I gave them their money back. The car's still sitting there.
it's up to you, Mr. Murphy. If you want to use your time to show the video now, then you can do that.
Right.
I don't think that it's necessarily the most productive use of time, but if you want to do it, I'll let you do it. The other concern I have is that it is going to inflame matters with the purchaser. Unfortunately, that's just the price that you will have to bear for that. I'm not, in letting you show it, I'm not giving any indication of what I think about it or in the tactics that you've employed in getting that video.
What do you mean by tactics?
It's strategies, Your Honour.
Yeah, all right.
Strategies and not tactics. I know you don't like me, but that's no excuse.
I've got no
views let's have justice prevail. I'm going to be here in another 20 years. I'm going nowhere.
I think if you want to show the video, I'm happy for you to do so.
I just don't want to feel like I'm troubling the tribunal by showing a video that's...
I think we've got more productive things we could be doing, but if you want to...
this is my business. This is a good case that I'm going to rely on, okay? And I don't want to hear negative things, please, if you don't mind, Your Honour.
I can give you a synopsis of it, which may be quicker,
no.
Of course, but if that's what you want to do, John.
Just go to the news.
We'll have to adjourn if you... Oh, no, we won't actually. If you're happy for Mr. Keane to hold the floor.
Yeah, of course.
I just want to tell you one thing.
Do you want to plug that to USB, eh?
Our audio is making without my consent.
Yes, I understand that. I do understand.
And I just want to tell you one thing. All complaints are there. You can, if you give them the permission, you can all find my problem.
Yes.
Do I push anything?
He just want to show you the card is starting. You never say card is not showing.
Okay.
So you just.
I understand that you have reservations.
Minimize out of that. So what am I looking for here?
It'll be here on your
just minimize them.
Yep, in your main drive.
Oh yeah, click here.
Yep.
So I think that thing came up there. Default. Use drive to pick up or open folders to here. It's just doing the autoplay, it's trying to read the drive.
Yep.
Okay, so if I click on him.
So if you bring your video up.
This one, yep.
Push the red, push that. Let's see. Okay, just give me a second.
If I could just add, under the New Zealand Bill of Rights Act, Section 14 gives me the right and freedom to seek, receive and impart information and opinions of any kind in any form, which is basically the grounds that I can record in public. It's not a two-party consent thing. The Communications Act says as long as I'm a party to the communications, I have a right to record it. So consent was not required or needed. I was in no restricted area. It was in a publicly accessible area. So
I don't have jurisdiction to...
Sure, I'm just saying that's the reason I record, because I know I have that right to do so.
What I do have jurisdiction over is whether to admit evidence and what weight to put on it.
Of course.
As I've said, I'm happy for you to play the video, so let's just go ahead and do that.
Lucianne. She's just figuring it out, lady.
Yeah.
Can I see, sorry? There's nothing coming up here at the moment. Oh, there's a click share.
I'm just going to look for the video and evidence. I think from this one, it's click share.
Well, I can drag and drop the video into that click share folder and you play it from there if that's what you need to do.
You try that.
Okay. Second. Okay. Paste. It won't let me. It says there's no space on the drive for me to copy it to, so.
Thing is, they are just wasting the time. Can you focus on the card, please? Because you said 12:30 is going to come.
Yes.
I think I could just give you a synopsis of the video.
I would be happy with that, and I do have the video.
Yeah, exactly. You can watch it on Google Drive at any time, and the raw videos are there, and there's a synchronised one with the video and audio. Basically, myself and my wife showed up. We were heading to Howick. I told John, he says, call in and have a look at this car. I didn't know if they were going to be home or not. If they weren't home, carry on to Howick. I showed up, I knocked on the door, introduced myself. Nettie took my name and number and all the rest. Completely polite and nice, there were no threats, nothing like that. She got the keys, allowed me to open the vehicle. It did have an alarm running, an aftermarket alarm, which I suspect is draining the battery. I opened the car, started the car, no lights, no warning. I left it running for 5 minutes to see if the ABS light would come on, because I know that sometimes it takes a moment or two for that sort of thing to bolt and kick in. No lights were there. I had a multimeter. I tested across the battery on the multimeter. It was getting 14.4 volts. And it seemed to run and start and have no issues, no warning lights, nothing. It went in, turned the key, first pop. Nettie said she hadn't driven it for a month or so and she'd had it charged. Turns out that was only 2 weeks before I was there. And that was it. I sat there for 15 minutes listening to her because their complaint was that no one wanted to listen to them and hear the story, and I was there open to hear all of her complaints. We went through all of the complaints, and then I came back and reported to John what I thought the problem was, and personally I think the alternator's gone and just needs to be replaced. As far as, I may be just a beneficiary, but I've been working on cars since I was about 12 years old, fully restored vintage vehicles. My father's a mechanic. We had 17 Fiats in the backyard. I can build computers, cars. I've built my own house. I'm very capable of doing many things. The fact that I'm a beneficiary just means that I'm not employed. Not that I don't have the skills to know what I'm talking about. I've completely rebuilt Mark III Cortina engines. I know what I'm doing when it comes to just testing to see if the alternator's gone. I didn't hear any whining from the alternator, but there may very well have been. It may have taken a while for the whining to kick in. But yeah, from what I saw, 14.4 volts across the alternator. It started first pop, no warning lights, and I left it running for a while to see if anything else would eventuate. And Nettie agreed with me at the time that no warning lights, nothing. So if it conked out on the 6th of September, was when they had roadside rescue, and they've had it assessed in June, they still drove it for 3 more months, and it worked fine when I went in, and by the sounds of it, I was the last person to turn the car on. I did check the odometer. It was 152,405, which was exactly what they had said it was, so they hadn't driven it anywhere. Yeah, that's pretty much all I can testify and report to. My wife was there, she recorded from a distance. I always record interactions with anyone because you never know what will happen. And I know I have the right to do so. Yeah, section 4 and 4, that's 4 and 5 of the Bill of Rights means there must be a demonstrably justified limitation on that right, which I think what's John getting on about recording in the courts. If you already have the right, why downgrade to a permission? So, but yeah, as far as the car's concerned, that's what I observed, and my wife was there and can back me up on everything. So, but nothing but polite and nice. There were no threats, no nothing whatsoever. I told her I didn't work for John. I was just a friend of John's. I live in Muriwai Beach, so I was heading over to Howick to visit a friend, and he said, "I'll stop in a Pakaranga. If they're there, they're there. If they're not, they're not." no harm.
Mr. Gregory, do you have any questions for Mr. Keane in relation to his inspection of the vehicle?
Yeah, Mr. Keane, you're saying that you think the alternator is faulty. At the time you looked at it, you thought it was operating correctly.
Yes.
Why do you think it's faulty? Is it on the evidence that you've seen?
On the fact that it seems to be going flat every couple of months and only getting sort of short trips to and fro from work. So the alternator may very well be going, according to the report. They were all talking about alternators. There were I mean, she did go around and point out the other faults, you know, the bumper not matching the bonnet and chips and windscreens and stuff. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, you bought it like that. You knew it was there. You bought it in that condition. But as far as I'm concerned, she's been driving it for 2 months, and if you're not driving it a lot, the car alarm will just drain the battery. Happens a lot. Many cars I've had with car alarms will drain it. So yeah, it is an aftermarket alarm. So yeah, from my many years of working on cars, sounds like change the alternator and all will be well with the world. But $1,000 to me is a bit high. That's a new alternator, and $300 for installing it would take me about an hour to do. I do my own brake shoes, I do my own work.
So are you saying that you think if the alternator is replaced, then that will deal with the ABS light issue?
That I don't know of. I never saw any ABS lights coming on the time. So, but I am aware that when the batteries go low and you start getting low voltage, you will start getting car alarms you will start getting warning lights come up with the low voltage. You know, like she's saying, she was trying to start it, the engine wouldn't turn, she just hear click, click, click. To me, that's a flat battery. Jump start. I will point out also one other thing. On the terminals of the battery, someone had used a couple of staples between the clamp and the terminal, I guess just to make it a bit more tighter and a bit more fitted, but just a couple of normal paper staples was jammed in the terminal. So I don't know what that's all about. And the other thing, they seem to have taken a lot of photos of the vehicle, nothing of the warning lights. There's no photos whatsoever of that. First thing I would do is record and do anything if I need to sort of gather evidence. But that's just a strategy.
I just need to get clear in my mind.
Sorry.
I mean, are you taking Essential Cars taking issue with the diagnosis that the ABS module has failed and needs to be replaced?
Well, I'm not a qualified mechanic to even make that statement, but from what I've seen, from the reports, if that's what they're saying needs to be done, but that was, again, 3 months in June when they had that report. They never drove it back to get the actual, you know, according to the orders of the tribunal, to go and get it tested. They just went from a report 3 months before they finished driving it. So, yeah, to me it's a battery that is getting worn out. They've done the battery test, it's still got good charge apparently, so it's the alternator that's not putting out enough voltage or keeping it running, and it's be draining the battery while it's running because the alternator's not doing its job. So,
but you're not disputing that the ABS module needs to be replaced then?
Well, they haven't had a chance to even assess it independently.
You need a chance to assess it.
Absolutely. Yeah, of course. I mean, the whole point is I called by just to have a quick look on the off chance they were home. Good, they were there
and
that
there's
day.
No evidence at this point to suggest that the ABS is faulty. We've got no dashboard
I've
lights
seen no
up.
warning lights, no nothing, apart from this report in June. So, if they're able to assess it, then we could go from there. But I believe he's got the right under the under the Consumers Act to.
They say they're scared and frightened and crying. I've sold cars all my life. I've sold 14,000 of them. I have to deal with this all the time.
It's just a matter of getting the car
and I don't want to be coming in front of you, but here we are now, and I've spoken to more, and I've spoken to a lot of people in the industry, that this is one that's got to be dealt with, because consumers can sometimes speak with forked tongues. They get excited, they feel that we're the horrible car dealers, and there's a lot, as you pointed out, there's a lot of emotion involved. I'm a specialist in it. I've dealt with people all my life, from the baddest of the bad to the nicest of the nice. And in this case, one thing I do know is that when the car did come back on day 2, I spent time with them. I wasn't rude to them. I went for a drive with them round the block, not for 5 minutes. The air conditioning was working fine. There was no warning lights on the dashboard. If there was a warning light on the dashboard, I'd have the car in our workshop in 2 seconds flat. Otherwise, it's going to determine into a major issue, and I'll end up having to do a little 1300 DMO motor. I'm just not interested in that. I'm interested in curing these problems. But if they come at us hard like these folk have, we will take our gloves off. And we will fight it with the most powerful legal that we have got. And even if I lose, I'll give them back their 2,800 and I'll get the car back like I did with Preslip. And we haven't finished with that yet either. But show us the lights on the dashboard, give us a photo. 2 things the adjudicator asked for, not one of them have they done. And here am I sitting here today. It's just not fair, you know, it is just not right. All I had to do was go out and ask the leading questions. Oh, is that you couldn't do it because the battery's flat? Well, go get some jumper leads and get your mates round from State Insurance. It's an adjudicator asking you to provide the vendor with a copy of a picture of the speedo reading.
I might just add one other thing. When we went and saw it, it was in the driveway. So the fact that I might have been the last person to start it sort of goes off there because they've obviously started it to get it into their garage. So it was just parked in the driveway when I went and saw it. So after the time that I started it first pop on the 20th of September, someone started it and put it in their garage.
Yeah, I respect the folk have borrowed money to buy the car and all that sort of carry on. I've got 5 staff to pay tomorrow, you know. We did them a service by selling them the only thing where I was at fault, and I'll admit it, I think the warrant was out by 7 days, but we're all covered in COVID at that stage, but it still was not out insignificantly. And that's something that I could be taken to task on. But the same token is that we've never been allowed to look at the car. All we get thrown at us is Facebook abuse that they've put on our page, and malice statements. And there's been 2 court cases at the High Court which I've been involved in, and they've been people making comments on Facebook. One guy was awarded $212,000, and the other guy by Judge Paul Davidson was awarded $182,000. So these people will be taken to task for these malice, off-the-cuff comments that they do make. I just want to have the ability to have this car assessed by an auto electrician.
CGA allowance, yes.
And I'd advise PK Electrical, who I use, I've used for 40 years, however you've got a 10-day booking in with him, and he will assess the vehicle and I'll pay for that assessment. I have seen that costs have been awarded in this tribunal against people that have gone out of their way to mislead the court and the vendor, and I believe that this is purely a case of that, because that will cost me money to have it assessed. I also suggested to these folk that they we use an outfit called Zebra Car Spares in Onehunga. They've got half a dozen of these cars down here, and they're sitting on the shelves, and I've even provided this tribunal with the cost of the parts, and they're a lot less than what these folk have provided. And yes, they're going to be covered if they buy them off those folk by the Consumer Guarantees Act, as well as the Sales of Goods Act and the Fair Trading Act. So they were asking for 6 months warranty on this and so forth and so forth. But you know, we've got limited time, and I've got at least an hour in front of you yet. You know, I've got at least an hour with my submissions here in front of you yet. So we will have to adjourn. I would ask, now that Mr. Keane has done his bit in front of the tribunal, that we could possibly do it by telephone conference. Mr. McHerron, make a big help for me.
Well, I just want to test with you, Mr. Murphy, why we need to come back. If you've got, I mean, I've read your submissions.
I've got submissions here that I need to go through.
Yeah, but he can go by the papers.
I want my day in court. They had their day in court, and the ups and downs that they went through. You know, I'm entitled to my day in court.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I don't want to be difficult or awkward because...
Well, I don't want to be difficult or awkward either, and if you want to come back and spend time here and go through your submissions, then I'll allow that. I'm not going to allow it to be done remotely though. It will be in person.
Why could the other young fella yesterday do it by remote then? And the other dealers I talk to, they all come to me, you know, I get every single dealer coming to me on the tribunal to give advice, and I just don't think that it should be, it's just awkward that I should have to come in here I'm the CEO of my business and I'm the manager. I can't allow it to run without me being there. That's in the Act. It's quite clear. I cannot.
It's your choice.
I've got to close it down.
It's your choice, Mr. Murphy. You can either come back in person and have a further continuation of the hearing, because I do accept that we've sold you short in terms of the timing that we normally allow.
Thank you.
But I'm not convinced actually that we need to myself. But if you want it, we will.
For what reason?
Well, I think
because I'm going to read out my...
Subject to a couple of things.
I need to read out my submissions here, and then these folk have got the right to reply. Now, that's a very essential part.
If they're the same ones that you've sent in, I've actually already read them, and I don't actually have a lot of questions about your written submissions.
It is an objective approach that you come up with an answer with, and I'm quite aware of that. And what I'm dealing with here, and the focus that we're focusing on for our industry, is that these people bought, a $2,800 car. I'm sorry, I'm not here to prejudice on, why didn't I buy a new one, because that's not what we thought. We offered them the service. We sold them a car which was fit for the purpose. If the tribunal saw it in front of us now, you go, oh, that's quite a tidy little thing. And it started, it ran well, the air conditioning worked well, everything about the car was, I think it even had new tyres on the front, and there was nothing adverse on the vehicle law. They bought the car. If they hadn't have bought the car, somebody else would have. Now, some 2,000 or 3,000 k's later, although they try and backdate this, it has a problem, which I don't really think it has. I don't really think the car has a problem at all. I think the car alarm in the car is running and draining the battery. It's an Altex aftermarket car alarm. I've had a lot to do with them in my life because I work every single day in a car yard, and I've done that for many years, and many people can tell you that. And we don't even lock them when they're on the yard, because I've got a Celica a Celica SS2 on my car yard at the moment. We put a brand new battery in it 2 weeks ago. I've purposely left it locked, and guess what? It's flat today. They've got a little red light that was put in by the good Kiwi tradesman that goes along. They've got a horrible remote that closes the door. That could be a reason. Point two, the only time that an ABS unit fails on a car yard, which I'm quite aware of, is when they get cross-spark, when they get jumper leads. The fusible lead just goes tsh. We've just done one on a Toyota Harrier. First job that's done when we have staff in our place, 2 hours are spent with them to show them how to jump start a motor car. It can be the most dangerous, hazardous part of our industry. It can do untold damage. And I'm not saying that that's happened in this case. You know why? Because I don't know, because I haven't been allowed to see the car. We've had a guy who's not even a mechanic that's looked at the car and given them assessment. With respect to these people, but with them in my ear, I just want to write anything down to get rid of them. I'll just tell them whatever they want to hear to get them out of my shop, because they are very, very, very domineering and very persuasive. What you could do, if you don't mind, is allow us to look at the car. Allow us, mechanic, to look at the car.
And assess it.
You said that was quite clear. You said that I wasn't allowed to repair anything on the car, but just allow me to look at the car.
So you say that you want PK Electrical and you'll pay for that assessment to be done?
If I can get into PK, I know the court's busy, don't want to muck you around, but I send them all my cars because I've known them for 40 years. If they can't do it...
Shouldn't it be someone independent of
yes,
you,
please.
Mr. Murphy? I mean, that's...
Oh, well, let's get the AA to look at it then. Why don't we do that? Why don't we get Home Team to have it? Okay, let's get a car inspection outfit to look at it. Okay? I don't care who looks at it as long as it's somebody...
At the court's direction.
At the court's direction. Yeah. But if you read the Act, it clearly says we should look at it.
Well, yes, I mean...
And it says that when we go to tribunal, that we've got 14 days to assess it. Well, I'm sorry, these people can say that we've been thugs, mugs, whatever they want, but we're not.
I think that, it's clear that...
There's nothing the matter with the car.
I'm not casting any aspersions on anyone, but it's clear that trust has broken down between you.
I'd agree.
We understand that, but we've still got rights.
But I would point out that, Mr. Malhotra here has testified about what happened on the day I arrived. He wasn't there. So it's hearsay testimony to begin with.
And I don't want to, and like you say, I don't want to flare them up, because I could flare these people up in 2 seconds flat with a few words. And I'm not going to go to them. All I want to do is get the car in and have a look at them.
Okay, I think we're running out of time. I think our security guard is going to have to leave very soon, so we should wrap this up. I know you've had your hand up and I haven't wanted to interrupt Mr. Murphy during his submissions.
Well, I haven't finished yet, Your Honour.
Yeah, just give it a break.
Think you have for now, because I think
we're out of time, mate.
Today. What is your availability like? This is just throwing this out there, and it may not suit at all, but what is your availability like first thing tomorrow morning?
Oh, I've got to see the car before I can come back.
I want to say something. We don't want to give card to these people.
We know that.
No.
We know that.
Stop. No, stop. You want to see the car first. Okay, we're going to have to adjourn now.
Yeah.
I may or may not make some further directions before scheduling a continuation of the hearing. That's really all we can do at this stage. We've reached the point where each of you have had an equal time to introduce your submissions. How much time do you think you need, Mr. Murphy, to wrap up yours?
Well, do I just lodge an appeal?
Just tell me a time.
I need an hour and a half.
Really?
Yes.
To go through your submissions.
Well, because
a long time for a tribunal hearing.
Okay, well, I've had them longer, but in this case, we're going to get, with total respect, and with total respect to their culture.
We have to wrap this up, Mr.
One moment.
I'm going to give you 45 minutes each. It will be a 1.5 hour.
I need to be able to look at the vehicle before I can make an assessment.
I understand your submission on that. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And I look forward to seeing you all again at some stage, hopefully soon.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Appreciate your time.
All rise.